Well, you just started a new job as a PSW and you feel like you're being discriminated against or harassed in the workplace. What can you do? Well, in Ontario, we have something called Human Rights Code, which is a law enacted to protect workers in Ontario from any type of discrimination or any type of harassment that you may be feeling. Harassment is a term we use to describe people that may be troubling you, tormenting you. It could be verbal abuse, it could be physical abuse, sexual abuse. These types of harassment characteristics would fall under human rights legislation. Now, wherever you end up working should have a policy around harassment because bullying would fall under harassment. We've all heard of workplace bullying before. That type of legislation would be protected within your workplace. And then on top of that, the province of Ontario would have the human rights legislation to protect you as well. So that's the first thing to keep in mind if you do feel you're being harassed in the workplace. There are people and systems set up to protect you. Other types of legislation for you to keep in mind as a new worker in Ontario. Occupational Health and Safety Act, which kind of sets out the safety requirements that all facilities would have to have in Ontario, safety requirements for the different types of hazardous materials that you may end up working with. So for PSWs, that would be the cleaning supplies, depending on your job description, the duties that you would have. You're probably going to be working with some hazardous materials. So, how to use them, how to actually clean them up, how to protect yourself, these types of things would all fall underneath the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Now, this includes training that your workplace would have to give you on a yearly basis. They call that training WIMIS, Workplace Information Material Handling for Safety. WIMIS is a term we use for training for healthcare workers for using hazardous substances in the workplace. They do mention something interesting here. I do get asked a lot by PSWs if they can ever refuse a workplace duty. So if it's in your job description or if it's reasonable to expect that type of client, for example, somebody with COVID, client is diagnosed with AIDS, hepatitis C, you are required to provide care to them. However, your workplace has to provide the necessary equipment in order for you to provide care. So, yes, you do have to provide care as long as you're being given the proper protective equipment and whatever the requirements are. Could be gloves, gown, masks, booties, shields, that type of thing they have to provide for you in order for you to do your duties. If not, that might be something you could take up with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Another type of legislation here is Employment Standards Act. This is a good one for you to keep in mind for the number of hours that you're working per week, which in Ontario is 44. 44 hours a week you're allowed to work. If you work more than that, they have to pay you overtime. If not, you would file a complaint with the Employment Standards and Legislation Act. Minimum wages for PSWs, vacation pay, those types of things, leave of absences, all of these types of different scenarios would fall under Employment Standards and Legislation Act. If you do work in a place that has a union behind it, unions are there for labor relations. So we call this one Labor Relations Legislation Act. Negotiating for the healthcare worker would be part of their role. How much money you get? Do you get any freebies like uniforms, shoes, that type of thing? So they're out there negotiating for PSWs. You do have to pay them a fee, and that usually comes right off your paycheck whenever you're paid. The union representing you would get a fee to do bargaining agreements for you. And the last one here I wanted to mention is called Workers' Compensation Legislation Act. This just protects you in times of accidents or injuries in the workplace. If you do ever find yourself with an accident or injury, and especially right now in the wintertime, there's a lot of falls taking place around nursing homes. They forget to shovel the sidewalks, they forget to put salt down on the sidewalks. You fall, you injure yourself. What's the next step after that? You usually want to make sure you're filling out the correct paperwork and you're writing down what exactly occurred in the incident. Did anyone witness it? Are you going to the doctor? It's always a good idea to fill out this paperwork, even if you think you're not injured, because sometimes injuries can take a week or two to show up. And it's going to go to the Workplace Service Insurance Board, WSIB, for Ontario. And then they're going to decide how much money you're going to get, or if you can stay at home during an injury until you're healed. And they will pay you for that, which we call compensation. So, again, that one is Workmen's Compensation Legislation Act, something to keep in mind if you're ever injured on the workplace. So, those are some of the legislation and laws I want you guys to keep in mind, especially when you're starting a new job. All of these laws should be inside of a black binder that they have at the different nursing stations where you work. And you should be reading that type of information before you start work, your job description, some of these legal legislations that you should be understanding and how they relate to your job. Hey, hope that was helpful. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on JoJo, the Caregiving Show.